It for this edition of Asia Today on CGTN. You're always welcome to follow us on your favorite social media. I'm Wang Mengmang in Beijing. From all of us here on the team, thanks for watching. See you at the same time tomorrow.
This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
"70 years after the historic February 28th uprising, Beijing and Taiwan are commemorating this same event, each in its own way and with different interpretations.
是中国人民解放斗争的一个部分。长期以来，这一事件被岛内的一些台独分裂势力别有用心的来加以利用，他们歪曲历史事实，挑拨省级矛盾，撕裂台湾的族群，制造社会对立。
Today, the February 28th incident is still fraught with political tension between the KMT and the DPP, while many on the island are calling for removal of the deep scar left by Chiang Kai-shek's rule. The former vice mayor of Taipei called on Taiwan people to open their eyes to see the real picture of the mainland's advanced IT economy. How can we understand the widening knowledge deficit between Taiwanese and mainlanders? While Tsai's approval ratings have dipped as Taiwan struggles with a sluggish economy, what can be done to facilitate cross-strait communication and reduce misunderstanding?
Taiwan is commemorating the 70th anniversary of the February 28th incident, so is Beijing. The tragedy has been used by Taiwan's pro-secession Democratic Progressive Party to fuel mistrust and hate against the KMT. This time, radicals of the ruling DPP even call for removal of Chiang Kai-shek's statues to eliminate all influences and memories of the mainland. In our review of the history and the volatile cross-strait ties, we are joined in the studio today by Wang Yuqing, a Taiwanese PhD candidate at Peking University.
February 28 incident is a bloody tragedy for all of Taiwanese people. It's also the part of Chinese liberation history for the ordinary people.
And Zhong Hotao, Assistant Research Fellow at the Taiwanese Studies Institute of the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences.
February 28 incident is a part of Chinese liberation struggle, and it has nothing to do with the so-called Taiwan independence ideas.
We shall also speak to Joanna Lei, former Taiwan legislator, over the phone. That's our topic. This is Dialogue. I'm Yang Rui. Gentlemen, why do you think both sides of the Taiwan Strait decide to commemorate the February 28th incident?
As for Chinese mainland, Taiwan is a part of China, so the February 28 incident is not related to Taiwan, it's also related to China. That's the reason why China hardly commemorate this incident. And another reason is, just as I said, it's a part of Chinese liberation struggle, and then we should commemorate. And actually, at that time, some CPC members participate in this incident, so we have to commemorate. And now the most important reason, personally, we have to correct the interpretation about the February 28 incident, which is distorted by the DPP. That means it has nothing to do with the Taiwan independence ideas. It has nothing to do with the confrontation between the Taiwanese and mainlanders. And actually, it's just a rebellion of the common Taiwanese people for the, at that time, KMT authority. So we have to correct those kind of distorted interpretation.
Yuqing, you've been here in the mainland for a number of years, and you've written a lot of articles for both sides across the Taiwan Strait on the same event, the February 28th. Is it true that both sides commemorate this event, but for a different reason?
Well, basically, like in the Taiwan's view about the commencement for the February 28 incident, they have a different feeling for this kind of incident. For the Pan-Green group, they really think about this is a part of Taiwanese independence history, but in the unification and also more left to blue group, they really think about this is the incident for the Chinese, is inside the Chinese Civil War history, and also they really to open some historical material to prove Chiang Kai-shek is not the murderer for this case, because he had been write a direct telegram for the Chen Yi. Chen Yi told Chen Yi very clear.
Chen Yi was then the top administrator of Taiwan on behalf of the KMT government.
Yes, and then Chen Yi Chiang Kai-shek told Chen Yi very clear, do not revenge for the Taiwanese people, because if you did that, I will hard punish you. So what happened?
So in your words, Chiang Kai-shek, the guy who was described the dictator during the civil strife, was not responsible for the bloody crackdown, was he?
Yes.
Exactly, I think so. He was not directly responsible for this incident. And that time, just as Yu Qing said, Chen Yi was the governor in Taiwan, and Jiang Jieshi was very busy for the Chinese mainland affairs. So he has no time to.
But I'm afraid that there was some symbolic presence of the Communist Party in Taiwan. What was the immediate response from the Chinese Communist Party, who was about to take over power from KMT in the civil strife?
At that time, you mean?
In those days.
At that time, a very important figure named Xie Xuehong, and actually
he was the leader of the local communist branch in Taiwan.
She just participated in those revolt or rebellion against the KMT authority, and finally, after several days, she led a group, actually an army. With the guns, with the rifles, and with some other weapons to fight against the KMT authority. But unfortunately, she failed, and then she moved to Hong Kong, and then finally she moved to Chinese mainland.
Thank you very much. Let me cross over to Joanna Lei, who's on the phone, for her comments. Hello, Joanna. Well, we were discussing the role Chiang Kai-shek played in the February 28th uprising or bleeding tragedy. What's your view about... Gianna, what's your view about the latest sensational development regarding the removal of Chiang Kai-shek's statue from all memorial places? Gianna? I'm afraid Joanna is not ready yet for a telephone interview. So what's the possibility for Chiang Kai-shek statues to be removed by radicals of the DPP?
I'm very sad about this because as I observe the Taiwan situation, have much more chance to be removed because DPP think about the Chiang Kai-shek is not just the dictatorship and the murder, also is a symbolize for the people's rule. That means if Chiang Kai-shek's statue is still in the Taiwan, what happens is everybody's statue will keep in Taiwan. So that's I really worry about. They really will be keep removing the Chiang Kai-shek statue.
Well, statues statues perform different functions.
Exactly.
For example, the Statue of Liberty in the United States that serves as the catalyst for freedom, for triggering American dream. Don't you think the statue of Chiang Kai-shek would only be a symbol of history, just part of history? It won't be used for worship, and therefore it's highly unnecessary to take it out. What do you think of the political implications for the radicals of the DPP to eliminate and dismantle all the statues of Chiang Kai-shek?
As for Chiang Kai-shek, he does not only represent as a leader of Taiwan, it also represents one China policy. For Chiang Kai-shek, in his whole life, he supported one China policy, and he believed that the two sides should be finally reunified. And for the DPP authority, they tried to remove the Chiang Kai-shek statue.
In that case, I'm afraid, Yu Qing, removal of Chiang Kai-shek statue would amount to removal of the political foundation for any peace process across the Taiwan Strait, because Tsai Ing-wen refused to mention the 1992 consensus in her inaugural speech, and therefore the mainland took that as a declaration for eliminating the political foundation for having a dialogue, a serious one, across the Taiwan Strait. What do you think of the implications of such a removal?
I also see the late removal the Chiang Kai-shek statue also symbolize. Firstly, they want to prove this government is not related with China. That's I really kind of worry. Secondly, they also become a symbol to forget the history, because DPP really kind of worry about the history connect with Chinese history. So what happens if we remove the Chiang Kai-shek statue? They will be formed a new ideology.
In that case, I'm afraid the DPP would have to destroy the Gugong, Summer Palace. Right? That's a place for historical memories. Let me cross over to Joanna. I think she's ready now for a phone interview. Hello, Joanna.
Yes, Yang Wei.
What do you think of the possibility for radicals of the DPP to eliminate the statues of Chiang Kai-shek?
Well, certainly it's part of the overall game plan. If you look at the current regime after Tsai Ing-wen took office, they started changing a lot of aspects in terms of historical remembrance, as well as reconstruct a historical facts that pretty much eliminated all positive contributions made by the KMT government as well as Chiang Kai-shek's leadership. So I think it's an overall quote-unquote nation-building process according to the Taiwan independence ideology. So it's certainly not a surprising move. However, it did come in a way that's more brutal than previous attempts.
What do you think of a strong response from the KMT? Do you think they will turn to the Legislative Council for restrictive measures to be taken so that the DPP will have to take into consideration the concerns of the opposition party? Or do you believe, Joanna, that the KMT is politically too weak to make any political comeback or gestures at this moment?
Well, unfortunately, politics is a matter of strength. At this point, DPP holds both the major government as well as local governments, as well as all the legislative and city councils. So KMT has very little means to raise its opposition. In addition to that, just take a look at the February 28th incident. Starting from 1992, actually formally starting from 1995, two KMT leaders, Li Denghui and Ma Ying-jeou, they've done everything by the book, according to the Jewish Holocaust Peace and Resolution Menu, because they have done official government apology, they set up memorial, they set up memorial foundations for official compensation of damages. They reinstated victims' reputation, as well as giving them full recognition, both the victims themselves as their families. All these methods means nothing when DPP decided to say nothing will be enough.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Joanna.
Have to prosecute Chiang Kai-shek.
Ho Tao, Ma Ying-jeou and his predecessors, and I believe the whole team of the KMT have done a lot to apologize to the victims and their families of the February 28th incident. And yet, Joanna said that nothing seemed to have come to any avail. Fruitless, futile attempt. Nothing else, period. Today, Ma Ying-jeou apologized again, and victims refused to shake hands with him. What do you think of the defiance of the TPP?
Yeah, as for Ma Ying-jeou's apology, you know, those Taiwanese people are not satisfied for his performance. As for those pan-blue camps, they think if Ma Ying-jeou apologized for this issue, then February 28th issue could become the original sin for KMT. Then it would be much harder for KMT to win next election. As for green camp, they just think Ma Ying-jeou is just performing, and he shows no sincerity. And for those Taiwanese common people, especially for those victims, they think Ma Ying-jeou just performing, and he shows no sincerity, and he shows no fundamental gestures, and that means his performance is meaningless for those victims. So as for Ma Ying-jeou's performance, almost no one are satisfied for his performance.
Thank you very much. You're watching Dialogue with Dr. Zhong Houtao, Dr. Wang Yuqing, and journalist and former legislator of the Taiwanese authorities. We're discussing why two sides across the Taiwan Strait decide to commemorate the February 28th tragedy that took place 70 years ago, and the message that the commemorative activities delivered about the future of the cross-Taiwan relations, which are currently pretty fragile. We'll be back in a short while. Stay with us, please.
CGTN shows you more, providing a fresh global voice you can trust.
And a different look at the world you won't find anywhere else.
We offer unparalleled coverage of Asia, Africa, and Latin America.
We present diverse perspectives on news and newsmakers from around the world.
We want to engage our viewers with stories that represent the complete picture.
We want to share with you ideas that matter to us all.
The stories, the people, the issues.
A new and balanced perspective.
CGTN. See the difference.
Welcome back. What do you think of the future of the cross-strait relationship? Will it fall apart? Because there's basically no political groundwork for sustaining such a constructive dialogue.
It depends on the cross-strait policy of Tsai Ing-wen. If Tsai Ing-wen continue to refuse 1992 consensus, then maybe the official channel between the two sides will continue to be cut down. But the non-official relationship between the two sides will be deepened in future. For example, the cross-strait trade relations, the cultural relations, and sports relations, especially the party-to-party relations. For example, the CPC and KMT relations. I think in future the party-to-party relations will be intensified.
There's obviously a silent majority concerning the future of the cross-strait relations with regard particularly to reunification, which is increasingly weak from our assessment of the current status quo. Now, majority of those Taiwanese people polled also show clearly that they favor the status quo, namely no unification, no use of force, and no independence. Having said this, the DPP seems to have fueled the speculation that Taiwan will not come back again, because the KMT, the opposition party, has basically lost its dynamics and the momentum in the political ecosystem of the Taiwan island. What do you think of this growing sense of being pessimistic in the mainland?
Actually,
and that would probably lead to our assumption that the use of force might be the last result.
Well, as I see it, for the young people in Taiwan, firstly, I really hope reunification with peacefully. That first thing. Second thing, I really not really too sad to see the DPP as wish whatever right now in Taiwan, because basically a lot of culturally tied and also friendship connection is still work on right now. And also, I also meet a lot of ordinary people in Taiwan. They really have different view than the Chinese government's thinking, because they really support the cross-strait relation keep moving on. And also they really sometimes really not to deny the future cross-strait will be unification. So in the future, if we say about unification will be few people to support, I believe that's kind of needed to be researched on, because sometimes in Taiwan survey, the people survey, they have some problem, because one in Taiwan, I never ever get a call from the survey group. So I mean, where does the result of survey come from? That's the first thing. Second thing, I really don't can see Chinese culture still very meaning tied in the unofficial relationship. So what happens is DPP, however, say I want to do the way they want to do, but the ordinary people will not to support. So that's
Joanna, many surveys show that at least 70% of the locals in Taiwan don't think they are Chinese. They basically identify themselves as the Taiwanese. Given the current absence of a political basis for a serious dialogue across the Taiwan Strait, do you think we have lost the legitimacy for having any peaceful means aiming at their unification? And that will unfortunately culminate in the use of force. That will be, of course, the worst case scenario, but I don't think people in Taiwan are stupid. They can see clearly this negative side of the current exchange, if any, across the Taiwan Strait. I'd like to have your assessment of the pessimistic sentiment across the Taiwan Strait, particularly in terms of how mainland looks at this.
Well, certainly, as Einstein once said, dark is defined as lack of light. So if there is no alternative, we seem to be traveling down a very pessimistic route. However, I do believe that peace is a common denominator of all people across Taiwan Strait, whether it's within Taiwan, the island, or across the strait. So it is up to us who believe in peace to work hard to combat the lack of light situation as it stands now.
We know it's politically correct to say that peace is a common denominator, but we cannot ignore the gruesome picture that Tsai Ing-wen refuses to accept the 1992 consensus, and the mainland is losing its patience. Joanna, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Yes, go ahead, Joanna.
I think you're right in the sense that there is a huge responsibility that has to be shouldered by Tsai Ing-wen, because we all understand that during the 8 years of Ma Ying-jeou's regime, we have enjoyed a very peaceful co-development across Taiwan Strait because we have agreed to the fundamental political keystone, which is 92 consensus. Tsai Ing-wen and her close confidants once told me that they believe that China would accept Tsai Ing-wen's alternatives to the 92 consensus. But I think after the past few months, it is blatantly clear that the mainland China will not accept all these so-called alternatives, and it is up to Tsai Ing-wen. The ball is still in her court.
Joanna, secession has been clearly written into the party charter of the DPP, or the Democratic Progressive Party. Tsai Ing-wen showed no signs whatsoever of making any concessions to the demand and the political request from Beijing that 1992 and all the One China principle should not be shaken or undermined with whatever reasons. And a second most devastating reason for being pessimistic about the future of the cross-strait relationship is the weakness and the vulnerability of the KMT. They are vying for chairmanship of this opposition party, which suffered a devastating defeat in the previous campaign. Now, what do you think of the strength and dynamics, if any, of this opposition party? If it cannot make a political comeback, then we have 100% politically correct, legitimate reasons to predict that use of force will be the only option on the table.
Well, Yari, unfortunately, you might be correct that KMT to date hasn't raised to occasion and faced the challenge. So the worst come to worst, the situation may be that the business community and young people may vote with their hands, because the rise of China through One Belt, One Road policy, as well as its most important goals in the world, is blatant and clear. Lots of young people and business community are exiting, voting with their hands, so with their feet. So worst come to worst, Tsai Ing-wen will face a very grim economic future and also a smaller economy in Taiwan, and that will cause a instability in her particular administration. So I think the worst possible result may not be war. The worst possible result may be the disintegration of Taiwan as we know it, and the downfall of the current prosperity and its economy as we know it.
Thank you very much for your resonance in the assessment of the very sad cross-strait relationship.
Excuse me, may I add
yes.
several points? The first point, as you just mentioned, the Taiwanese consciousness is increasing in Taiwan, but you should pay attention to this point. That is, Taiwanese consciousness does not mean Taiwan independence consciousness. Yeah. So although someone support Taiwan and they are Taiwanese, but that does not mean they believe that Taiwan should be independent. That's the first point. The second point is that the Chinese mainland is not so pessimistic about the cross-strait relationship. Just as Tsai Ing-wen finished her inauguration speech last year, the Chinese mainland defined this inauguration speech as uncompleted answer sheet. That means we hope that Tsai Ing-wen could continue to answer her sheet, her paper, examination paper. We hope that she could adjust her cross-strait policy. And the last point, as you mentioned, the use of force, I think that is just our bottom line, and we should take turn to this final or last resort just under 3 preconditions, and we will not use this. We will not turn to the last result very easily.
It's good. I also add a couple points. Firstly, like as a Taiwanese people for feeling about the Taiwan conscious. Firstly, Taiwan conscious is just the thinking for loving the land, the place, the local. So like Beijing people love to watching the opera, Peking opera, and also eat the Peking noodle. But doesn't mean they want to support the Taiwanese independence. Secondly, the society tied and also culturally tied is very close. How close is about myself? My wife also mainlander. A lot of Taiwanese people, even the young people, they have the couple. One is a mainlander, one is a Taiwanese people. So what happens is if we talk about the war, in the war to the solving the unification, I believe Taiwanese local people, ordinary people, they really don't support, and they care about the life.
But don't you think the Mayflower movement that took place the year before last indicated clearly that the young people would never appeal to their national identity or the ethnicity as a Chinese? They would pay no attention to the devastating consequences.
I don't think so.
Of the boycott.
I don't think so, because I should tell a lot of people about the story about that movement. A lot of people come for that movement. They don't know what they want to do for the young people.
Not Mayflower, but sunflower movement.
Yeah.
Sorry.
First thing is. Secondly, they come to the movement. They really don't understand what I should do in this movement. You know why they come here for the young people? Because I have friend in the movement. So his friend called, hey, come here. We can really have social. Then they just come. And also remember, in the place, in that day, the Wi-Fi is free. The food is free, the dinner is free. So the people come here not they don't care what the movement talk about. They care about oh yeah, I have friend here. I can use free Wi-Fi. I can have free dinner, even the supper.
So little times for individual pleasures and fun, not for the theme of a big times.
Exactly, yeah.
Independence of Taiwan.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for clarifying some of the confusion concerning the future of the cross-strait ties. And thank you, Joanna, for being part of this dialogue. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
This is CGTN, China.